right, so we are going to talk about some action steps and future
Yes.
vision. All right, so if you had the ear of every school leader or parent, either or, listening right now, what's one thing you tell them to start doing today?
It's a tough one.
Mm.
It's a tough one. If I had the ear of every school leader, I think I would encourage them to understand actually what their students are actually feeling and thinking about school right now.
It's Coach D here. I'm a post-secondary and workforce readiness coach, author, and speaker. And I'm empowering educators, inspiring students, and transforming schools one conversation at a time. Welcome to Coach D Wants to Know, the podcast where we dive deep into all things post-secondary success. Whether it's career readiness through college, trade schools, the military, apprenticeships, or entrepreneurships, we're talking about it. This podcast is for school leaders, counselors, business owners, parents, and students who want to explore every opportunity behind high school. Because when we know better, we guide better. So let's jump in and uncover the possibilities together because Coach D wants to know. It's Coach D here, empowering educators, inspiring students, and transforming schools one conversation at a time. I am so thankful for you all joining us today on this episode of Coach D Wants to Know. So I have a special guest here that I have been able to watch for several months now. I've been able to watch him in action. And so I did ask him, would you come on and really share with our listeners and our viewers the impactful work that he is doing through an organization called College Aim. So first, I want to make sure I'm getting everything on here. His name is Ian Barrett, program manager with College Aim, where he is leading a team of AmeriCorps members to help students explore post-secondary pathways with confidence. So I wanted to make sure I read that because that is so key, because you all know my passion about post-secondary options for all kids, and to be able to see him in action with our 9th through 11th grade students and our seniors, because we share the same office. He's in there, definitely a part of the family. And so again, I wanted to make sure he was on here. We're going to be talking about self-efficacy, leadership, and what it means to make education relatable to students in 2025. So you ready, Ian?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So again, could you give people a little bit of insight about College Aim, what it is, what the purpose is? Because I'm sure there are many people who have not heard of it, especially if they have not been in the education sector at the high school level.
Absolutely. First, I want to start off and say thank you for the opportunity. Love being able to learn from you all the time. It's amazing to watch you do what you do, and I'm super grateful to be on this platform. So thank you.
You're welcome.
College Aim is an organization. We do college and career readiness for high school students all the way up through the time that they graduate college. So I am so blessed to be in an organization that A, cares about its students, B, cares about students from underserved communities. Generally, first generation low income students have been the ones that we've served the most. And we're growing, and our students are they're amazing, flat out. So on top of that, we do something really unique that most organizations don't do. Most organizations will serve just high school students, or they'll help with that summer transition, or they'll help college students. We do the whole gamut. So as long as the student stays connected with us, the only thing they have to do is to enroll at one of our high schools, be enrolled at one of our high schools, graduate from there. And if they enroll into some sort of post-secondary program, 2-year college, 4-year college, some sort of trade program as well, will support them through their graduation. And we are building on that now to also help students make sure that they're career ready so that they're not only graduating, but they're graduating and getting into their first career role.
All right. So, and that's key for me. That career, making sure they're choosing the right path based on what it is they intend to do in life,
Yeah.
and then figuring out the best path to get there. So again, I appreciate that. I appreciate joining forces with everybody that's in our room to make sure our kids are not overlooked, because like you said, those first generation students, some of them have not gotten the attention that they need.
Yeah.
And what is so special about what we do is making sure that every student is seen, every student is heard, and we also get to see the changes along the way.
Yeah.
And how they may have started with, I don't want to go to college. College isn't for me. But
It ain't
again,
for
they're
me.
just listening to somebody else's mindset about them and their abilities, or no one ever broke it down to them in a manner to where they could see themselves on a college
Mhm.
campus. So again, I appreciate the work. I appreciate your service and how you have come in and hit the ground running to make sure our babies get
Yeah.
every opportunity that they, deserve to have.
Of course. And I just want to highlight something that you said there. I think the key is seeing is believing. And for so long, I think even me as a not so recent college graduate at this point, you think college looks one way. You think it's 4 year, I'm in class every day, and I graduate with my cap and gown, and then I figure it out. Where really, and we talk about this all the time, the landscape of college and post-secondary in general is changing drastically. Specifically at College Aim, we use post-secondary over college because college has that 4 year connotation, where realistically we're pushing many students to follow their dreams and go to technical schools and community colleges. Maybe you have a student that wants to go to college but they're not ready. Community college is a completely viable option. You have students that really don't want to do the traditional school anymore. They want to get right into their career. Trade schools, trade programs are completely viable options. Maybe a student just wants to get a certification right now. Like I'm real big on AI, which I know we talk about from time to time. That is a skill now that you can get certified in and hop right into your career. And they're building new careers for these industries that have to do with AI. So somebody positioning themselves there, could make a boatload of money that, me working the 9 to 5 where I'm at, we might not be doing the same thing. So it's all about just showing the kids what is possible and getting them really to understand that you can do what you want as long as you put the work in.
Right.
That's something that I see time and time again. And you have students that want it, you have people that want it. But if they go and they put the work in, they say, I'm going to do the scholarships, I'm going to do the research, I'm going to listen, I'm going to talk to this person, I'm going to do my work, I'm going to go to class, right? Those are things that we could start doing today or
Right.
tomorrow because it's nighttime. But,
Mhm.
we could start doing that, and slowly but surely those gains will add up.
That's right. And you segment it right into our next little topic. We're going to talk about the work and we're going to talk about the mission here. So, got some questions for you.
Yeah.
So, you've told everybody about what College Aim is. What specifically is it that you do at College Aim?
Yeah, so at College Aim, I'm a program manager. I manage our AmeriCorps partnership. So, like you mentioned earlier, I was brought in to manage a team of members that we were able to bring into College Aim through AmeriCorps. They've been an awesome partner for us. And between that partnership, we've been able to expand into all 5 of our DeKalb County schools simultaneously. Previously, it was just me delivering workshops for 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. So, with the help of our team, we're able to have one person in every school throughout the work week, or throughout the school week, rather, to deliver workshops, get to know students, and really expand the reach of College Aim. We also, which is it's smaller right now, but we also work with our collegiate students. So Our success team at College Aim does a phenomenal job of working with our college students, getting them prepared to take those next steps. However, what a gap that we identified was career readiness. So through our AmeriCorps partnership, not only am I helping with the high school students, but I'm also managing a small team on the college side, and they work to do the same thing: workshops, one-on-one conversations, helping students identify opportunities on the collegiate side, specifically dedicated to their career interests.
Okay. So what does a typical day in the life of a program manager look like?
There's no typical day. You know that. There's no
I was trying. Okay, so let's talk about a not so off the wall crazy day.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I spend a lot more of my time on the high school side because that is where we have way more students. This year we're serving at last count, 3,370 students across all 5 schools. So I spend a lot more time on the access or the high school side. What that looks like is typically being in a school. And this year I'm at Lithonia High School. Is one of our partner schools. We had a need there, so I stepped up to fill the need. But we are delivering programming to 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. So this year, what that looked like was us making relationships with administrators and teachers, pushing into classrooms and telling our kids about the subject that pertains directly to their grade level. So 9th grade is just about college exposure, college awareness. 10th grade is career readiness. So getting them exposed to, hey, you have this interest, you have this interest, and you have these skill sets. How do we get you into a career that you might actually like? Like I tell the kids all the time, for me, I really like talking to people. I really don't like math. So me going and doing something with math or, being a computer whiz, that wouldn't have been my thing. But me being a program manager in a school, talking to people, doing things that I do, that's amazing for me. And then our 11th grade is focused on college applications. So getting them to understand what the college application process looks like, getting them to understand what financial aid looks like, and helping them understand the steps that they would need to take between now, springtime, at the time of this recording, now the springtime of their 11th grade up to summer and into their senior year. So a lot of my time is spent doing that. On top of that, I'm also helping my members out. So when they have requests that they need, or they have, or they need some sort of support, that could look like stepping out, helping them with their request or showing up at their schools. We do observances as well. So as a program manager, we want to make sure that my team is doing what they need to do. And then it's a lot of data. I didn't know how much data I would be encountering as a program manager, but it's been awesome because that's really one of the areas that I wanted to shore up in. So it's a lot of data. I handle all the reporting and most of the relationship management with our stakeholders at AmeriCorps. And I'm also now incorporating connecting with other programs so that we can see what other people do that is working, and we could potentially incorporate it into our program.
So, I love data. I do. I love it. I'm always producing some data, but I love it because, especially in our sector, what we do, it's proving that all kids can have a great, viable path to whatever it is they want to have, as long as they've been exposed. Again, you can't really be it if you can't see it. So we make sure they're actually seeing it. They're planting feet in these buildings, in these organizations, on these college campuses, in these trade schools, in the apprenticeships. We want to make sure that they actually see it, touch it, hear from real people. And again, our data will always speak for itself, because these are those kids that we always say slip through the cracks. It's not that they can't do it. It's just that nobody showed them how to do it. And so,
Exactly.
yeah, the data, it speaks for itself because this works. Exposure to opportunity, exposure, and mentorship is really key. It is really key in what we do with our children.
Exactly.
So we talked about the work that you do with 9th through 11th graders, but is there anything, and you did mention that we typically work with those first generation students, but is there anything else unique about the students that you serve, and how does your program meet their specific needs?
Um, yes. So I mentioned first generation, low income as
Mhm.
generally the background that our students have come from in DeKalb County. We've also had with the incorporation of one of our partner schools this year, we are encountering a new opportunity with serving more Hispanic, Latino, and mixed status families. That's something that we've always done, but
Mhm.
at the scale that we are doing it this year, it's presented a new opportunity to really serve our students, especially with everything that's going on with this administration, just helping
Mhm.
them get more educated, and still help them get to post secondary has been an awesome opportunity for us this year.
Right.
Those would be the main identifiers of our program.
Mhm.
Of course, I can't speak to how talented our kids are, how much they really care. I think
Mhm.
when we work with our students, from the outside looking in, you think one way, and then you actually get to know them. You start seeing their interests. You start seeing how they interact with people who care about them, and
Mhm.
it's a completely different reality than the perception that most people form. So,
It
um,
is. And you won't see that. I know I did a segment a while back. It was called "Who's at the Table,"
yeah. Hmm.
and for so many schools, you're going to see that there's student government, there's SGA associations. It's always, well, I won't say always because we know how the word always, but I will say a majority of the time, it is comprised of people who are in your top 10, people
Hmm.
who are already going to go to college, those people who are going to make it, whether or not they had the resources or not, they're going to make it out there. And hardly ever is there representation from those people who want to do skills trades, who
Hmm.
want to start out and go straight to work with some
Military
certifications
too.
like you talked about.
Yeah.
Those kids are very rarely a part of student government. So again, that tends to lead to them being those kids who are overlooked, not
Mhm.
heard of, and they're not the kids that are going to be your discipline issues or that are always in the office, because that's what you normally see in schools. You're going to see your high flyers all the time because you know them by name. You're going to put them on program. You want them to
Mhm.
represent when you go somewhere, or you're going to have those that are, always causing the issues. They're on your suspension rate list. They're on your attendance problem list. The teachers are always, sending some sort of referral in on them. So you have this top level kid that you
Mhm.
have. Then you got these at the bottom of your spectrum, but you very rarely see, touch, or get to know those kids who are in the middle. And that's why we are so fortunate to be able to have them in our room, to be able to seek them out,
Absolutely.
to give them that one-on-one attention that they need. And they are really the ones who make the schools run. And
Absolutely.
they make it fun. They're honest, sometimes too honest,
Way too.
but you build some true relationships that are going to last forever because
Mhm.
you saw them. We saw them. We know them by name. We can pick them out in the lunchroom, in the hallways, and
Yeah.
we call them by name because we know them and we know their story. So I think what we're doing is just definitely what they consider heart work,
Mhm.
because those kids know we love them from our heart, and we'll do anything we can to make sure that they are seen and that they are heard. So
Absolutely.
it's
There was
beautiful.
a story on that. There was a young lady last year who I got the opportunity to know at when I was spending a lot of time at Towers High School, and we got to talking, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm going to college now, but originally," she said, "I was going to the military. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go to school anymore." And she said, "I was skipping class, and
Mhm.
because I was skipping class, I didn't have anywhere to go but the Success Center, where one of our access coaches is Miss Bridges. Shout
Mhm.
out to Miss Bridges, she's amazing. over at Towers High School. And with Miss Bridges, just through talking to students who did want to go to college, just by being around this young lady, started making up in her mind, like, hey, I'm not a top achieving student. I'm not, the best in that, right, or I guess academic GPA wise, because I think every student is unique and is amazing. But she started making up in her mind, like, hey, I could go to college too, just by seeing other people do it, and just by having somebody that cared with her, that talked real to her. Because Ms. Bridges she don't play no games. But giving her that real authentic love was something that was not seen by a lot of students there. And she was one of the first people, not the last, but one of the first people that showed me, hey, when you really love on your students and you really show them what it is to be a person, not to be a teacher, not just a teacher, not just a counselor, not just a coach, but just being a person and treating them like people, man, they'll open up to you. They'll trust you with their life.
They will.
So yeah, and I
That
see
is so
the
true.
truth this year. Like kids are still coming. You're still seeing brand new kids in the room like all the time. And
Yes.
they just come and they're like, oh, I heard about Coach D or
Mhm.
Mr. Barrett or
Mhm.
all the awesome people in the room. So
Right. And so again, they are so an example of that happened today. SAT scores came out. They were released to
oh, they
us on
finally came
yesterday.
back.
They are back. And like I am so proud of our juniors. They surprised themselves, but I'm proud of them. And the day they were taking the test, I'm running around, I'm finding kids, giving them pep talks. You got this. I know you do. I've given you every tool, every strategy. You got this. And like one of the babies that we share, and I won't really call her name out, but she's in my first period, and then every time you turn around, she's in that third period. But she got the score. She got the score that the military will pay for her full education. So like she's just screaming, she's yelling. But if you see her normally, like you said in class, it's always like, no, this is not going to work. No, whatever. But
Mhm.
again, to have somebody believe in her and knows that she can do it. It's just that we got to get you out of your head, whatever's been fed to you, whatever, whoever did not speak like they should have over your life. We're going to kill
Mhm.
all of that. We're going to kill all of that.
Mhm.
And just to say that has brought 3 other people in today. And they all came in. It was like, oh, she said, Coach D, you know everything.
Really?
I was like, guys, I don't know everything. I promise you, I don't. I know a lot of things, but I don't know everything. But if I don't know it, I know somebody who probably does.
Yeah.
And we talk about that all the time. We're teaching them how to build real relationships, how to
Real
serve
relationships.
organizations, how to be a servant leader in whatever you're doing, because those relationships will last you forever. And so they're like, how do you know this person? Because I worked in their organization, I volunteered, or
Mhm.
we were partners in something. But everything that we ever do has always been towards giving back to our community or making sure kids get a leg up in life. And so when they see you have a genuine heart for your communities, for kids, those are lasting relationships. They don't ever go away.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's what we've been doing. So that is the work, that is the mission. So let's talk about building student self-efficacy. That is
Mhm.
so important right now. And you mentioned in your questions that I gave you that you were passionate about raising students' self-efficacy and agency. So why do you believe that this is a game changer in education?
So I'm gonna go back to my phrase from a little earlier, something that I really adopted for my life, and I spread it to everybody I can. But you can have whatever you want as long as you're willing to put the work in.
Mhm.
And it's we always focus on that second part, on the first part, but it's really about the second part. If you are willing to put the work in, a lot of times, what I observe, we have awesome students, and then we have kids that don't know how awesome they are because they're not trying or they've never been pushed to try. Or they do try, it doesn't work, and they say, this wasn't meant for me.
Mhm.
And so I think having that self-efficacy that I'm going to get up. Yes, if you want to reinforce me, that is great. I appreciate it, Mr. Barrett, but I'm going to get up. I'm going to come to school. I'm going to listen when I'm in school. I'm going to do my homework, right? I'm not going to just waste the resources that many people are pouring into this high school. And then when it doesn't work, I'm going to say like, oh, they
Mm-hmm.
didn't care about me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's something that grinds my gears. Because when I do think about, you know, all the things that I've been blessed to accomplish, it's like somebody else gave me a chance, right? But I had to kind of follow through. I had to really get out of my comfort zone. I had to, you know, put my best foot forward. And if it failed, then I had to learn, well, what was the lesson here?
Mm-hmm.
What did I miss, or what was I what could have made it better? It was good, but what could have made it excellent?
Right.
And so I think right now we have people who don't take pride in what they do, and that's at
Mm-hmm.
all levels. And I think if you take the time to take pride in what you do, that self-efficacy part comes automatically. But you can't have efficacy if you don't have pride in what you do and who you are, and you know what you bring to the world.
Mm-hmm. And I think we had one of the conversations today in the room that everything you're experiencing right now, because of course, we are having the conversations now about actually paying your housing deposit,
Mhm.
enrolling there, moving forward with the whole process to actually see yourself on that campus. And every little thing is like, oh, they doing too much. Or they asking for
Mhm.
that. And you're like, this is just training ground for you for the real world. Or when I called them, they were angry, or when I, whatever, but like you still got to call again.
Yeah.
You got to have the conversation, and we'll walk you through it and we'll help you do whatever you need to do, but you're going to have to do this on your own once you get to the
Yeah.
next level. So
Because
learning that.
nobody is going to look out for you the way they look out for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a hard lesson for a lot of people to learn. It brings a lot of disappointment. But I think if students get in the mindset of, hey, I got me first,
Mm-hmm.
and then mom got me, and then, you know, grandma and dad got me, and then Coach D and Mr. Barrett and all the other people that support them. But if I got me first, well, it may be hard. Yes. It
Mm-hmm.
may be challenging. It may be disappointing. It may seem insurmountable, but hey, if I got me and I trust in me and I know that I got this gift, then I can do it. Or at least I think I can do it. And if I think I can do it, I can try. And if I try, I'm a little closer than if I just didn't do
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Yeah, I think Miss Hernandez made the comment yesterday that it seems to be like the kids these days, they either have fight or flight. There's no in
There's
between
no
to
in
sit
between.
in it, to figure it out, to it's going to hurt a little bit. It's going to be some ups and downs and some bumps, but be able to sit in it, learn from it, learn your patience, learn to
Mhm.
hold on to whatever that dream is as you
Yeah.
move through it. So we're just trying,
Yeah.
we're the ones I believe that are helping them in the middle of this to see it from all sides and not just like, okay, this is too hard. I can't do it. Let it go or whatever. Or, just everything is you're on one. Why are you so angry right now?
And
Okay.
still helping them acknowledge that feeling, because I think as adults sometimes you see a problem that a student's going through, and we've gotten through it. Like, I can't pay my housing deposit. Cool, we can ask somebody, or we can fundraise, we can do something, right? That, and it doesn't even seem like a heavy lift for us, but to them this is a boulder, when really
Mm-hmm.
to us it's a pebble or maybe a small rock.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, right, not demeaning those feelings. Hey, this is challenging. You're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely right. This is hard. Your family might not be able to contribute the way you thought they were going to contribute. Or, hey, we had different priorities up through April, right? With prom coming up, with vending machines be
Mm-hmm.
popping. I tell the kids, if y'all knew how much money y'all was making somebody, y'all would go into a vending
You
machine
need to get
business.
your
I'm
own.
telling you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? But hey, this is challenging. This is hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable. Cool. We still got to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I've seen when I've done that with students, is having them acknowledge, like, hey, this, giving them the right language first,
Mm-hmm.
right? Having them acknowledge, hey, it's okay to say this is hard. Hey, this is okay to say that I don't feel comfortable. I've never done this before. I'm the first in my family to do this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, it's still got to get done.
Yep.
That your feelings don't stop what needs to happen. I got this
Mm-hmm.
phrase for myself: feelings are fickle, and it's everybody don't like it, but you
Mm-hmm.
could be happy today. Somebody throw a rock through this window right now, I'm gonna be pissed.
Mm-hmm.
right? But the end result is, well, I need to go get my window fixed.
Get the window fixed.
I got to get my window fixed. How
Mm-hmm.
fast am I going to get the window fixed? What's it going to cost to get the window fixed? And I love listening to John Hope Bryant. He says when you make emotional decisions, they're normally bad ones.
Mm. Yep.
So we can't. I find it hard to allow students to just I'm mad. They just they always. I can't do that because when you make emotional decisions, they're normally bad ones.
Yep.
They're normally what you feel for right now, but we need to be thinking about then. We need to be thinking about, tell kids when you get to be my age, 10 years goes really quickly.
Mm-hmm. Really, really fast.
Really
yeah, that was another conversation in there today. They were talking about they can't wait to get out there, and every adult was like, no, we said the same thing. Slow down, because all of us want to be back where you are. So everybody just slow down and pause. And again, the fight or flight, or, again, you're teaching them that they got to sit in this and figure it out. Emotions are your emotions, feelings are your feelings. But at the end of the day, we got to do something. So again, the kids are coming in. The admissions office said so-and-so, and, they sent me this email. And to them, it is the most like we're ready to jump off a cliff type situation. And I was like, well, let's just call them. And they'll sit there and they'll pause for a minute, like, and I'm like, let's just call them. That's it.
I wonder if that's an offset of social media. Because
they don't have the skills. Everybody can pop back real quick. The Twitter fingers. I can block you, or I can say what I want to say. But like I was telling, we made like 5 calls today for different students. It was like, let's just call them. But again, they don't think that it's that simple. It's got to be something over the top. It's got to be a grand gesture to get rid of this problem or this challenge. No, let's just call them. And every time we called, they gave us the simple solution, and we wouldn't handle it.
Because most times people don't ask. If you ask the questions, but going back to the, I don't think we ever left, but the topic of self-efficacy, most times you don't have what you need because you don't ask for what you need, or you tell me what you need, and I'm not a college admissions rep. I can't click the button. I can't see your account. A lot of times I in my spare time I work with students developing executive functioning skills. But a lot of time I tell kids, hey, you had this event that was going on with you, and I only see you for 1 hour a week, sometimes 2 weeks. So you've lived a whole life outside of the time that you live with me. So I was like, forgive me if I'm not understanding why these things are going on, but it's my job to make sure that you are understanding what needs to be done and how to get it done. And I think sometimes kids take their feelings and their thoughts and their frustrations and they pour it onto us, which is, it comes with the territory, honestly. But, reminding kids, hey, what happened over there, or this frustration, that hasn't, I don't know what they said. I don't know what happened.
Right.
I don't know what conversation you had about, your parent not supporting you. Because that does happen. But what I can tell you is if we have this conversation, talk to these people, if we pull on this other student who had the same experience and they got through, right, we can find a way for you too. Right. And getting them to kind of see that, hey, I'm not alone. I'm special, but I'm not, in a sense, I'm not unique. My problem, somebody else has had it before. And I think a lot of times our students don't realize that. They don't understand that. And it takes a while to understand, but really, I think once they see that, if I'm going through this, somebody else probably has, and if somebody else probably has, that means there's a solution. Or if there's not a solution, hey, y'all forward that got this problem, we're gonna find a solution.
Yep, there is a way to work through it, and that kind of sort of led to this next question with those kids. What can educators do differently to help students believe in themselves and to use the resources around them? Because their teachers have a lot of students in their classrooms. You push into the classes and you see them, and that's not unique to the school that you're at. That's unique to that. I mean, that's all schools all around. So what is it that an educator who might not have the training that we have to work with students, in a different setting outside of just, okay, we got a test coming up. These are the standards we got to cover. This is what's going on. What types of resources or what types of tips can you help educators, and especially new teachers who are coming into this field and dealing with these students? How can you help them bridge that gap and make sure that they're giving the kids the tools and the strategies that they need so that they believe in themselves in those classrooms?
Yeah, this is such a big question. It could go so many ways. I'll say, from the type of person that I am, I think the key to every connection is a relationship. And so nobody wants to hear you reprimand them, or they don't want to do your homework, or they don't want to, hear what you got to say if they feel like, hey, we don't got a connection.
Right.
So I think that's the very first thing, letting students know that you're human, that you also go through things, of course, privacy, but just sharing a little bit about who you are, what you do, why you're here. I think is the very first thing. I think the second thing is, as a teacher, building relationships with other teachers, specifically teachers who care. And I say that because there are some awesome people in all of the school buildings that I've ever been into, right? And a lot of times we stick to our classroom, we stick to our bubble, we stick to our duties. It's a lot. It's a whole lot, right? But taking that time, since you're here with these people every day, hey, Coach D, who are you? Right? Like when I went in your room, I'll use an example. I just started looking around at your bookshelf. That's what I love to do. But by that, I found out, oh, you're a writer multiple times over. I found out, oh, you're somebody that has been in all these different positions at different school levels, in addition to being an entrepreneur. So I think doing those things, just having conversation with people, brings you so much more than you could ever imagine with getting to know people. To that, I think that there is also a lot of negativity in school buildings. We're just going to keep it a being, keep it honest. Hearing that is one thing. I think getting sucked into it and contributing consistently at that is another thing. Staying away from negative energy in school buildings is an essential piece of this work, because it is draining, it's tiring, it's hard. The kids don't always cooperate, no matter what level you're at. They think they're smarter than you. They think they got it, and so that's okay, right? You're here to guide them, but building relationships and remembering why you kind of got into this, I would say, is some of the first things as well. And I would say also being a student yourself. So reading, I think, is extremely important. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's investing partner, he before he died, he did an interview, and one of his biggest points was learn the big ideas in life, because you never know, studying marine biology, how that could connect in the school building. But you don't have to know everything about marine biology, but understanding the basic principles of marine biology, of how waves work, of how other stuff works in that ecosystem, can help you draw connections that would have never been seen in a school ecosystem, like the waves of student emotion, the waves of when things happen, like testing cycles in a school building, the way that emotions well up in the school building. So I would say just learning outside of your parameters, outside the parameters of education. Those have been three things for me that have been huge, and I've been able to connect them to all different pieces of my life. And I am able to bring all of that to education, because I believe that we teach life, not just school.
Right. Now, so, and the reason I asked you that question is because I wanted to get an outside perspective of what you would tell educators. So I, of course, in one of my businesses, that's what I do. I do new teacher professional development, and you hit all the basics. You literally hit all the basics. And I think for some new teachers, they look at veteran teachers and they look at how they move and everything. And it's got to be some science to this, or it's got to be, I need to know what they know. How did they do this? And it all went back to relationships, building real, true relationships with those kids. Like you said, always being a student, always learning yourself. and holding the kids to those, to high standards. Not, again, this goes back to something you said earlier.
Absolutely.
Not looking at what they appear to be, but building that relationship with them is going to allow you to see who they really are, and you can meet them where they are and then lead them to where you want them to be. So you can't do everything the same with every student. And the only way you're going to know how to move differently with students is to have a true relationship with them. And you are correct, being vulnerable. And like, you don't have to share all your personal details, but they do need to know you're human. For some reason, students don't think we're human beings.
Well, you're a teacher, just like your parent is a parent, and then you get to be an adult, and you're like, you didn't really handle that well.
Right.
You actually made a terrible decision. But I think there's this separation, and it's normal. I think, especially the way that I've seen some teachers go about it. You are that disciplinary person. You are that person that, makes school less fun. If I tell you to go back to class, you're in the hallway. It's like, oh, you're here to be in class. You're not here to be in the hallway. But at the same time, walking through the hallway, there was a young man I saw. I'm sitting here, and I've seen him multiple times at this point. He's sitting in the chairs. I'm like, yo, you can't be here. Just having a conversation. Literally, this happened this week. Having a conversation. I'm like, yo, you can't be here. He knows he can't be here. He's like, man, he's typing. I'm like, man, can you look at me real quick? Just make eye contact with me. He's typing. He's like, all right, hold on. So I'm like, I give him the patience, because I give him the benefit of the doubt. He looks at me. I'm like, what's going on? You can't be here. What's going, like, why? And he's like, they don't got no chair for me in my classroom. Well, I would have never known that if I just yelled at you to go back to class. Okay, what class you're supposed to be in? He told me. So we walk back there. I go back there to see him just to make sure he's not, trying to play me. There's actually no chair in his class. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go find you a chair. I go out, talk to a couple teachers. I found him a chair. And I was so thankful that I was able to do that, because he'd left. I went back, found him. Yo, I got a chair for you. He said, I got a chair? I did. And he went on to class. And I think just little small things like that, just building relationships with kids. And I called him the incorrect name. He corrected me. I was like, thank you for correcting me. But just things like that, just showing them that you're human, that you care. It goes forever. Now, that kid may or may not ever remember it, right? But he'll remember at that moment somebody did something for me.
Yeah. And
so
then automatically just attack. You actually tried to seek to understand first. And that's something that you have to grow to do. And there are a lot of pressures in buildings, a lot of pressure in your classroom. For instance, I had one kid that one time he was on his phone in the hallway. And so, my thing is, you're not supposed to be on the phone. And he was like, yeah, I know. Put your phone up, go to class, things like that. But come to find out, after more conversation, talking with him, there was a family member, and this was, of course, the court was online because they hadn't really opened up the buildings all the way. But his brother was actually on trial. And so he's trying to figure out, is my brother going to come home? He's been at the school buildings. There is so much that our kids are really going through that people would have no idea what they're trying to process, and just trying to be whole. And again, when I say we got to meet their needs first, for them being human, being safe, and feeling love before we can ever get them to teach them. And they, we want them to learn, but they're not okay sometimes. And sometimes you got to be okay, look, let me go in here. Let me get your room, because I don't want you to get in trouble on this phone out here when you're not supposed to be in it. You do I'll come back and check on you in a little bit. But there are things, again, that we just got to move past the fact that what it looks like just might not be what it is. And it's difficult to do that. I've been a school leader, so I know it's difficult, but what I have always tried to do was understand first. By the time you get to my office, I've already probably seen you in the hallway. We already had some situations, but when you come into the office, like, this is the rule. This is the rule. So I do have to do this. However, I need you to understand this, that, or the other. And this is how, you can move when you come back, or, I got to call your mama. And we're going to call her together on the cell phone. or on my office phone or whatever. We're going to be on speakerphone so we all hear the same conversation. So we're all in this together and we come to a solution together as well. I tell all my parents, and I always have, I'm your ears and your eyes in this building. I'm here to help make sure you understand your baby is safe. So I need you to partner with me. I'm going to call you. My kids know I will call you in front of them with them on speakerphone. And I need you to tell them what you said to me. You know, I've been in the place where, you know, I've brought them up, and if I've had to contact the parent, I'm typing in that email exactly what you had the nerve to say in my classroom. I want you to read it so there's no misunderstanding. It went home. And again, but I do build those relationships, and I'm the first, like, call your mama, you know, put her on speakerphone. And I want you to call from your phone so I know they'll answer from your phone. Call your mama, put them on speakerphone. Let's have a conversation about this. And it's done out of love, and it's done because there's a relationship there as well. And again, it is my obligation, it's my duty to make sure you get the best education you can. And sometimes that comes with me making sure I'm holding your feet to the fire. And we love it.
I think that would be two more things that I would add to my list from before. Consequences. I think students need consequences. They need boundaries. I think it's mandatory. It should be mandatory. I think every classroom should have their own sort of boundaries, as the teacher should instill that, but also at large, you know, there should be an understanding of these are the consequences of our community. These are the standards of our community. And if you violate these, here's what happens. I don't always see enough of that. And I would say, as a new teacher, that's a way to not only instill love because the kids know that you care about them, but also respect that you're not that pushover teacher. And then the last thing I would add is public speaking. Public speaking training. I was a Toastmaster for years, and it was one of the most awesome experiences of my life, just being around people that I didn't know at the time. Started with a completely new club during COVID, but just getting to learn how to speak comfortably, and have, specifically in my club, we worked a lot on impromptu speaking. So I used to be that person. If I didn't have anything to say, I just kind of get on my phone. But now finding somebody to compliment them or ask them a question and just spark a conversation, I think that goes directly into that relationship piece building, because you're not doing your trained response. You're not just disciplining the kid, but you're asking questions, you're active listening, you're listening for those undertones. You're not just taking them at face value. You're evaluating body language. There's amazing books, because Toastmaster is an expense. There are a few amazing books, though, that I'd really recommend for teachers if they're interested in working on their public speaking. I would say Talk with Ted, or Talk Like Ted by Carmine Gallo. Excuse me. Talk Like Ted's the book. It's in my bag right now. But it just talks about some of the best TED Talks, what they had, and the way that they use those tools. It's a highly effective negotiation book. I can't remember the name at the moment. There's a book called Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards. And I would say those three are great starts. And then there's a couple YouTube channels by each of these individuals as well. The TED Science with People by Vanessa Van Edwards. And then there's different people out there on places like YouTube completely for free that just give you tips for getting your public speaking and your relationship building muscle strong.
Right. And again, what we're talking about, the speaking, the relationship building, consequences, boundaries, that transcends against anywhere, whether you're in corporation, nonprofit, for-profit, college scene. Again, it is the basics of I think just really being human. It's the basics of being human. And again, that's what we wanted to see. Our kids need to see us as humans, as well as their teacher. And we need to see them as humans who are learning, and they are not where we are right now. People probably can think back to when they were a student, and you needed that person in your life who was going to coach you to become who you are today, and not automatically assume you were there and treat you as though you were there already.
Exactly.
All right, let's transition. Let's look at leadership. Exposure and relatability. So, one of the questions I have here as we explore how leadership and exposure opportunities help students connect with education. You talked a little bit about the power of leadership and extracurriculars in your questions. And how do you feel that these play into student development and their future success?
I think that leadership and extracurriculars are an essential part of student development. I think of just personal development. I do think we don't always highlight all the benefits that students are getting. And so I think it's important as we are encouraging them to be leaders and encouraging them to get involved that students really understand what they're doing and what they're getting out of it. If we're going to SGA, how do we deal with different community stakeholders, to use more corporate language? But how do we deal with our principal who makes decision? How do we deal with our teachers? How do I deal with my constituents, my class, right? If I'm a president, how do I lead my cabinet, my board, right? All of those things are leadership skills. What is my leadership style, right? And we don't always think about that. It's just, oh, I'm president. It's a title. It's great. We do this. We didn't do that. I asked for this. They might have said yes or no. Yeah. And so I think just getting more granular about what students are getting out of it is amazing. The same thing with sport as my first extracurricular, like football or basketball or track. As a track athlete, as a cross country athlete, what do you get out of running? You get the ability to train your mind to endure hard things. You literally get endurance physically and mentally. Track is more, cross country is way more mental than physical. Any runner will tell you that, right? You get to understand how to pace yourself. And how do we translate that into school? Well, if I do 2 hours of homework every night, that saves me from having to take advantage of these amnesty days. If I am doing, 2 hours and I break it down into 30 minutes, if we're thinking about a track, well, that's 1 lap. That's 2 laps. Well, I did my mile. I got all my homework done for the night. That's 1 hour. Cool. Now I can go play the game.
Right.
Or now I can go outside. And not only can I go outside, but I can go outside with the freedom and the clarity of mind that I don't have no homework when I get home. I can come to school with the clarity of mind that I don't have any homework when I come to school. I could just sit in class. I could just come to class. Because I don't know if you were that type of student, but I was that type of student from time to time. Homework's due. It's due at second period. I'm going to do it in first. I'm going to do it in homeroom.
Yeah.
And that doesn't allow you to start your day crisply. I would say to the exposure piece, seeing is believing, like we talked about earlier. Seeing is being, literally. I see you have that Start With Why on your bookshelf. It's one of my favorite books, the how, the why, and the what, right? If we know why we're doing something, if we know why we're doing our homework at night versus in class, well, the how, I can show you how, and I can show you what to do, what to break your homework down, and what tools to use in order to do that. But you have to understand, hey, this is what I need to get done. This is my goal. And this is why that's important to me. So
I think so. When I was coaching basketball and my kids would have all these grand ideas. I want a double. I want this, I want that, and I want whatever. So they're thinking about it from a top level. And I was like, this is real simple, right? If you score 1 layup every quarter and one free throw every half,
it's 10 points right there.
If you just get 2 rebounds, 3, whatever, and we would break it down, and you would just see like light bulbs just like going off all over the place on how you can do these things that really, really get you looks from college recruiters. But it's very simple. Everything just get back to the basics. Let's look at things on a small. You're too busy out here, ready. As soon as we get ready to go warm up, you behind the 3-point line. If you don't get away from that 3-point line,
free throw line, get to them layups.
If you don't get away from
points are scored by layups.
Right. Layups and free throws win ball games. We preach that as coaches. Your defense is going to create offense. We preach that over and over again. You'll get more layups off of if you play good defense and get some steals, look up the floor, get the ball up, all of these things. You're going to get the points.
Right? Because with leadership and with this exposure, when we took kids to we took them to 2 field trips, State Farm and Inspire Brands, 2 amazing college AIM partners. We didn't do that by ourselves. The leaders didn't do that by themselves, right? It took a team of people talking to these students, breaking things down, setting up, serving on the panels. On our end, it took a whole school of people, from approving field trips to getting buses together to following up to chaperoning, right? Leadership is about bringing your team and your people along with you. And so I think if we can get them more, going back to your basketball mindset, yeah, you could dunk this, right? Pass it, set up the alley-oop, right? Because that not only makes you look good, but it makes other people look good. And when you make them look good, they want to make you look good.
Right.
Now, as a team, everybody's scoring double digits. We got 3 doubles, right? And I think a lot of times we think about, what do I need to do to win? But basketball is not a
sport.
Individual sport. You got 1 star and still lose a lot. It's a team sport.
Especially leadership is a box and 1 on that 1 person. Okay, so what are the other 4 y'all going to do right now? What you gonna do? So I like that. I like something you said earlier. Right now, you just talked about a team sport, but I like what you said about looking at the classroom as a community and building community. And I think that's one thing that I've definitely been able to do with my juniors is build community. A lot of times they didn't know each other in the beginning. I switched. You're hardly ever sitting with the same person. Get to know each other, get to know their ideas, their thoughts, learn the fact that we're more alike than we are not. And when you start to discover that, it's like, some of my kids like, I've been in classes with her before, but I didn't even know her name.
I didn't know her name.
That's not cool at all. That's not cool at all. But I always switch up. I move them around. I call on them. And so again, just letting them understand or helping them understand that community is what's going to make us stronger. It makes our bond in that classroom stronger. And I think a lot of times we can hold each other accountable. So they do more to hold their classmates accountable sometimes than I do, So it's pretty cool when you build that community and you help them understand that you're leaders within this room. You're leaders within this room. And I'm proud to say many of them are leading well. And so I love that. I love that about them.
Yes, they are. Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about some action steps and future vision. So, all right, so we are going to talk about some action steps and future vision. All right, so if you had the ear of every school leader or parent, either or, listening right now, what's one thing you tell them to start doing today?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. If I had the ear of every school leader, I think I would encourage them to understand what their students are actually feeling and thinking about school right now. I think there are times when we want certain things. I think there are times where we have certain visions about what our program should be doing, what our students should be doing, what our leaders should be doing if we're thinking about, verticals as well. But I think truly understanding what your students are thinking and feeling allows you to be actionable in a way that's helpful. And so when I was getting trained in technology, before I came back into, well, I never left, but before I came into this role, I would say I was training to be a technology product manager. And one of the biggest rules of product management is you need to talk to the people that you are looking to serve before you build anything. Because if I build you a really fancy lighter, but you don't need a lighter, or you don't need this technology that does the exact same thing that your calendar already does, well, I've wasted my time, I've wasted my resources, and you don't get any value from this. So one of the things that I see when I go into schools and I talk to students is I ask students, how many of y'all don't feel like being in school is a good waste of your time or a good use of your time? And I normally get a lot of hands. Right. And so I think understanding at whatever level you are, why is this not a good use of your time? And then from there, what would be a better use of your time? What do you want to be doing? And they'll tell you. I feel like I should be learning more about X, Y, and Z. I feel like I'm not being prepared for Y. Right. How do we get you to that then? How do we connect what you're doing in your science and your English and your, Spanish class? How do we connect these to the things that you're wanting to do? And I think once we start having those conversations and start making decisions and implementing solutions from that lens, we'll find more students start to buy in to what we are essentially selling them, or what we are telling them, hey, this is what you can accomplish by being here, spending your time with us.
Right. Yeah. So they do have a voice, and oftentimes it's everybody's voice is not heard. Again, when we talk about our SGAs, we talk about our top 10, their voices are heard tremendously, because a lot of times they're speaking easy language. It's easy to implement what they want, because it's probably already happening in the school. It's just like, a no-brainer. But when you start to talk about those middle of the road kids, or those kids who are causing a lot of your challenges, again, with discipline, number one, I don't know if some people really know how to relate to them first. If they have enough of a relationship or enough trust that has been established so that they feel free to be honest and to talk to them about what it is that they need, or even they may not even know what they need at that level. They just know that I've always gotten in trouble, or I'm always, the one the teacher doesn't want in the room. But I've seen light bulbs come on when you just give them something that they can latch onto. Like, okay, every time I turn around, all school year long, all we hear is college, 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 but I really want to be a welder. Or I want to be a rapper. We got some great rappers out there.
I want to do music. I gotten that a lot recently.
We have some kids with a lot of talent. I have one young boy that is in my class, and at the beginning of it was like, I'm not going to college. I don't want to hear nothing about what you're saying. I don't know where they put me in this class. I'm a rapper. And I'm like, okay, cool, bet. Let me hear some of your songs. And so, at that particular point, his eyes were like,
because never asked me that before.
Nobody had ever said, okay, let me hear some of your songs. And so he showed me on YouTube, his little YouTube. I'm following him on there because the music is actually good.
Is it? Sometimes you never know.
Right. I sent it to Miss Vega, and I said, Vega, listen. And she was like, this is good. We were just sitting there, just bobbing after class and everything, and he had left out. And so I actually shared it with some people that I know in the music industry, and they were like, he's good.
Yeah.
And when I came back and I told him about that, you could see something completely change in him. And it started with, let me hear your music. Okay. And it was not okay, you can't be a rapper. Rappers are this, rappers don't do that, rappers, whatever. No, it was like, okay, let me hear your music. Just as simple as that. And now, as he's doing his career, now I'm getting him understanding. I was like, okay, it's cool to be on one side of the mic, but what I want you to do is I want you to know all aspects of the business. I want you to know how to manage your music. I want you to know how to produce your music. I want you to know how to engineer it. And I had some colleagues and some people that I've worked with on some projects for some kids, and I was showing them, look, This happened in high school just because of relationships and people. These kids actually have a single out there on Amazon.
Literally.
And so it can happen, but they before the Amazon would allow them to participate in this program, they had to know how to produce their music. They had to engineer it themselves. They had to choreograph the dancing. They had to put all of the video. They had to put it together themselves so they could learn every piece of the business. And so again, talking to him about this, and now when he did his career project, here it is. Now he's thinking about going to college. Now I want to see how to get into the music, the engineering, the different aspects of it, because
that's a whole lane. There's people there who teach that.
And so he's interested in that. And I told him, I'm not trying to convince anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. But what I am going to do is I'm going to present all the options. I'm going to show you the opportunities, and I'm going to show you how to make sure those doors are open so that if you should change your mind, the door is open and you can maneuver and go through any of those doors that you want to. So it was just like, and now, we joke and everything about it. Like, okay, so we looking up some colleges now. That's interesting. I see. And again, I was like, keep making your music. They've told you, I've read him text messages and people from the industry who are saying, oh, I like it. He needs to, just switch up because he kind of sort of sounds like what's already out there. So he needs to just find his unique lane and keep going, keep producing, keep, being relevant on social media, keep putting his music out there. And again, you just see the spark. You see his whole facial expression change. You see everything about him it starts to light up because again, and it started with, okay, let me hear your music.
And letting students know to this particular point that just because you go to college doesn't mean you can't do other things. And I think you're a perfect testament to that. All the different things that you do, you're all the things that you do. But hey, me being a teacher, me being an administrator, me being a part of this program doesn't stop me from being a part of these programs. It doesn't stop me from doing my own thing. What I hear a lot of times is students hear, oh, if I want to be a cosmetologist, I want to do hair, that's all I got to do. No, you could be a cosmetologist at night and you can go work during the day. You can, have 2 or 3 things. Again, you can have whatever you want as long as you're willing to put the work in.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier. I said that. We talked about that today. One kid has an aspiration. They love animals. But they also want to be a barber. And I was like, well, why don't you go and learn how to groom dogs? You can go and
it's a big business.
Get your license, find you some high-end clients who knows that Fufu has to get her hair washed, shampooed, whatever. She has to get her trim every week. And when they go to Spain, you got to go too, because Fufu has to get her wash and her groom every week. And so they were like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. There's so many. I had a young man today I was chatting with, and he was like, people don't even think about all the ways that you could be a hustler. They only think what they see, and, seeing is being. But seeing people do other things, that's why social media is so awesome on its positive side, because you're seeing people that you've never had access to before. You're hearing the conversations that they're having, you're seeing the realities that they're having. We just have to make sure that we as adults are not abiding by that, because that is manufactured. But more importantly, we're showing our kids, hey, while these things are manufactured, it is completely possible. People go all the time and they travel all these beautiful destinations and they have all of these awesome experiences. And many a times you get into the right program, parents will brag. I have had parents brag on their sons and daughters to me all the time. My daughter gets paid to travel. My son gets paid to travel, right? They are somewhere every week, every month. They love what they do. They're making good money. They get paid to travel, and helping them visualize that and touch those people either through connection or through direct introduction to that piece earlier about exposure. A lot of times having a conversation for a student is something that's the first step. That's the first step. And so I would think to the second point is One is just listening to students, listening
Mhm.
listening to what they like, what they don't like. The second step is, as educators, as parents, we need to expand our networks.
Mhm.
And I get that, it is easier for some than it is for others. I definitely understand that some people have privilege to be in certain spaces or have certain opportunities that others don't always have. And I don't think that is a hindrance, but I think it should definitely be acknowledged, because the type of rooms that you might be in, I don't might not have the credentials or the experience or the network to be in,
Mhm.
frankly. But who do I know
Mhm.
in our communities? Do I know the people who own the few mom and pop stores left? When I go get my car serviced with the mechanic, am I actually talking to the mechanic?
Mhm.
Do I know him or know a little bit about him? Because those are the people, when we start talking about jobs, hey, my kid needs a job. Mr. Bob, he is actually looking to teach somebody to
Mhm.
give his business away. But
Right.
now the talk is, baby boomers are starting to retire. They have nobody to give their businesses. They want to sell their businesses. There's a whole movement right now of people who are wanting to give their businesses away. And that's ripe opportunity for people to come in and say, hey, I might not necessarily know how to run your business, but I'm capable, I'm coachable, and I'm willing to learn.
Mhm.
Right. And I want to come in and I want to either work for your business, help you take it over, or if you're more on the acquisition side, how do we learn? How do we get connected with people, regular people like you and I? We're not talking millionaires and billionaires. We're talking regular people like you and I who use debt and who
Mhm.
use all these other things. Knowing I get so excited about this, but having those networks to bring it back, to be able to say, hey, this is what somebody needs, here's how I can fill it, or here's how I can help somebody in my community. I think that is essential for every school leader, every parent, because I've seen you do it time and time again. We got kids who want to go certain places, do certain things. Hey, let me give my friend who I know a phone call.
Mhm.
Right. And you always say, how do you know these people? Well, I volunteered in their organization.
Mhm.
I met this person at an event.
Yep.
I talked to, or I held my own thing, and I invited certain people and these people came. Or I have a friend who's in X and they
Mhm.
connected me to their friend who does Y. I
Mhm.
think at the end of the day, time and time again, it all goes back to relationship building.
Yes.
If we can build relationships with our kids, or we can build relationships with ourselves, or we can build relationships with the people around us, we can literally change the trajectory of people, of kids' lives.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think those are things that you can do. And it goes back to everything that I mentioned earlier. Get comfortable talking to people. You don't have to be an extrovert to do that. I think
Right.
a lot of times we stop at, oh, I'm an introvert. I don't talk to people. Other introverts need somebody to talk to.
Mhm. They do.
How what do they do? Right? It's I yeah, I can get really excited about this. So I'm gonna stop here, but this is my passion. This is my
Well,
jam.
and it shows, and I appreciate it. Again, I'm blessed to be able to witness it, and I think that's what's so unique about, we have different organizations all in that one room,
Mm-hmm.
but all of us share the same heart, all of us share the same mind for these students, and that's the beauty of it, and that's why it runs so well, and that's why it doesn't matter what student walks in there. If you're not there, they know they can get it from me. If I'm not there, they can
Mm-hmm.
get it from you. If Vega's not in there, they can get it from her. If Miss Harper's not in there, they can get it. They are going to be able to come in that room, and there are 5 individuals who that they know that they can get
Mm-hmm.
trusted advice from, guidance, and we're going to be there to see them from beginning to end, to to finish strong. And so that's what's most important, that these kids, no matter where they are, if they're at the top of the totem pole, if they're the most challenging school student in the school, if they know they can trust you, you will eventually get them to where they want to be. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it's not about what you want, like you said. It's about how hard you're willing to work for it. How hard you're willing to work for it. All right. So for our last question, let's round this out. It's about your future vision. What is your vision for the future of post-secondary success? And how can we get students excited about all the options that are available to them?
My vision, I think this one coalesces really well with the vision of DeKalb County, but that every student has a plan.
Mhm,
And it doesn't matter if they are going to college, if they want to go to work. Military is something I've learned a lot about being at College AIM,
mhm,
or if that student wants to be an entrepreneur. I
mhm,
think my vision is if you don't want to do one, fine. Let's figure out what your plan is. Let's figure out what your interest is, because I think we're all meant to do something. I'm a believer in God, and I feel like
mhm,
God has given us each a gift,
mhm,
many gifts, but there's one thing that shines out above all the rest. For me, it's connection and
mhm,
people. And so, how can I, or how can a student, how can we encourage them to operate in their gifts and build a plan and build a life around that? So, I think there's a lot of ways that you can go with it. I think different people will put different flavors on that vision.
mhm,
But for me, through this work, it's encouraging students to start researching more. What do I want to do after I get out of high school? To
mhm.
even to take it a step to take it a step before that, to even start considering, well, at some point I'm going to graduate, and have the awareness to say, by the time I am finished with the 12th grade, I know it's coming. A, I know that I'm going to graduate, but B, what am I going to do after that?
Mhm.
And then how do I use the tools that have been given to me by College AIM? How do I use the tools that have been given to me, by my teachers? How do I use the resources that I come across every single day on social media? Right?
Mhm.
How do I use this information to start propelling me forward? Because I feel
Right.
like if students can start dreaming more about what they want to be, they'll start taking the steps that they need to get it, and knowing that it's possible for them.
All right. I love it. Again, knowing that it is possible for them. That's key. That's clutch. Just making sure all kids, no matter where you are, everything is possible. It really is. And I think that's one of the things that we both share and we talk about. No matter where you are with GPA, SAT score, ACT score, whatever, there's a way.
Yeah,
We may not be able to go straight to your end all be all, your dream school or your
yeah,
dream career, but there's a way to get there. We might have to start here, but there's still a path and there's a way to get there. So again, I
absolutely.
think, just making sure all kids know that we can paint that vision for them. Again, that 4E model is amazing, and we're making a lot of progress towards those kids understanding, like, we want to make sure you get what you want. And
Hmm.
we don't want you leaving high school without a real plan, not a wish, not a dream, but a real plan of action on how you're going to do that. And we have a great process going. We have a great system going. So I'm just looking forward to all great things for this year's graduating class, and especially those years coming up, because the foundation has been set.
Hmm.
We have a great model working together. So I'm again excited about the future for our students. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much for joining me tonight on Coach D Wants to Know. It has been a pleasure to have you. Again, I get to see you in action daily, and that is a pleasure. And that's why I wanted to make sure the world knew of the great things that are taking place with our children. They are not out here just to fend for themselves, and they're not getting the tools and the strategies that they need. There are services within schools. If a parent is listening to this, go to that counseling office, figure out who the career coach is, figure out what services are there, and they will point you in the right direction. Sometimes you have to understand that one counselor can have a caseload of up to 400 students. That's a lot to
Absolutely.
manage. There are resources in the building, but sometimes they are going to have to advocate for themselves, step out of their comfort zone, and go and make sure they ask, for the help. And we are
Absolutely.
there. The services are there, and we want to make sure that you all know. And as a parent, make sure you call and you are informed as well, as to those services that are there, because there are a lot of services within schools. It's just that sometimes the kids don't listen to the announcements. They don't read the emails. They could care less about what you're reminding them about in the remind. But the services are there, and we're products of it. We're proof of that services are in the buildings. So please, again, just partner with us, join forces, but we are there to make sure your kids have every single opportunity they could ever imagine.
Exactly.
All right. So for my listeners, don't forget to like, share, follow me on.
Push this out to somebody. Somebody needs to hear this. You know one person that needs to hear this.
Yes. Share it. You can follow me on Facebook at Kimberly Wilson Daniel. I'm on Twitter. Any platform is Kimberly Wilson Daniel. And again, Coach D wants to know on YouTube. This will be out there for it. Like it, share it, follow it. Like Ian said, somebody needs to hear it. It's going to change somebody's mindset, whether that's a teacher, a school administrator, a parent, a student. Somebody needs to hear it. So please share it. And always remember that together we can empower, we can innovate, we can lead, one student, one teacher, one leader at a time. So it has been a pleasure with you again. So stay tuned for the next episode. And Ian, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach D. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Coach D Wants to Know. I hope this conversation sparked new ideas and opened up fresh possibilities for the future. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Also, check out the resources available on my website, keystoneinstruction.com. And remember, the journey to success has many paths. Let's make sure every student finds their best fit. Until next time, together we can empower, innovate, and lead, one student, one teacher, one leader at a time. See you soon.